Welcome to Everything's Fucked podcast, where you haven't been fucked till you've heard everything's fucked. You're here with Monica.
And Asia.
And today we're going to be talking about parenting out of guilt.
Dun, dun, dun.
Everybody's favorite topic. Just kidding. Nobody likes to talk about this.
Nobody wants to talk about it, but
Not even us.
It
Just
needs
kidding.
to be discussed. It does. We're guilty.
Yes.
We're guilty of doing it. So
Yeah,
we know people that do it.
The holidays are coming up, so this is going to be a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah. You know, on over on my Instagram, this one has come up in the polls quite a few times when we do our venting on Wednesday or What the Fuck Wednesday. People complain about their week. It has come up that, you know, there's a lot of pressure to buy very expensive gifts for grown children or for their spouses. The guilt has come up in my Instagram from my following about, you know, being a teen mom and then being guilted, you know, parenting from guilt, those children, because you don't feel like, you know, you were a good enough mom to them and you have kids now that you're being a good mom to. So it has come up. And I think this is a very, very good episode to help everybody get some tips, some, you know, tricks, whatever, and also to feel less alone in it. We're all, you know, guilty of this. We've all done it. You know what I mean? So
I've never done it. Just kidding. I have. I'm such a liar.
Such a fucking liar, dude.
I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just an asshole right now.
Yeah.
No, I definitely have done this. The single parent parenting out of guilt.
Yes.
That one will trap you.
Mm-hmm. That's
like
the one that got
hard.
you. It got you good.
Oh my gosh, yes. That one's really hard. Well, for me personally, because when Ramona's bio dad and I divorced, it first started coming up because I was by myself. Like, I was parenting all alone. And so I'm playing this role of mom and dad. And I started getting into my head, you know, like I'm having to make up for not having a dad. And so then I'm thinking like, I have to double parent. And so I have to compensate. And so I have to help provide these extra things for her. And I remember when she was 3 when we got a divorce, and it was relatively soon after we divorced that I was by myself parenting her. And it was probably like 5 months into that I kind of like had this like aha sit down moment with myself of like, you cannot parent her this way. Like, if you continue to go down the path that you're going down right now, like shit's going to be bad. So I didn't end up heading in that direction, which like I'm really thankful. Like, I recognized like what I was doing, but it was like 5 months of me like just letting her kind of
giving into her.
Like, there was not a lot of no's. It was like doing what she wanted, letting her stay up. I did. I felt horribly guilty because
you took her dad away.
I didn't take her dad away.
No,
she didn't have one. You know, he was gone.
I just love
Whether
you.
It was my fault.
You're like, I ain't taking that bitch. Don't fucking put that on me.
That bitch took himself away. But anyway,
yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Valid point.
I never felt guilty about that one, but
that's good.
So yeah, it just, you know, even regardless of the situation, just her not having that presence anymore made me feel guilty for the situation, and it made me feel like I had to compensate. And that's scary because you don't want a child to ever feel like they're missing something. You don't want a child to ever feel like they're missing out or they don't have everything, because that's what you do as a parent, is you want to give your child everything in the world. Like, that's just what we do.
Yeah.
You want your kid to grow up feeling like, my parents gave me everything. They provided everything for me. They helped me feel like I had it all. Whether that's love or physical things or security or whatever.
Yeah.
And so parenting out of guilt is one of the ways that some parents do that. And that doesn't make you a bad parent.
No.
But it can lead to destructive behaviors. It can lead to destructive relationships, and it can lead to a lot of problems. It just can. And
Yeah,
that's what we want to talk about.
it teaches your child how to manipulate you, how to get what they want from you, how to get beyond the boundaries you have in place. And then they can use that on other people too, because they're learning tricks, or ways to get around, you know what I mean, the rules. And
Yeah.
it's just not good.
Yeah. And you guys, I want to go into this saying like, we're not parenting experts. We're not psychologists. We
No.
are not here to tell you how to raise your children.
Nope.
We are talking to you from a place of our own experiences, from a place of our own life and choices that we have made ourselves and a place of love. And
Yeah.
we don't want you guys to come away from this like Asia and Monica told me, or I heard this on a podcast and this is, how you're supposed to parent your children. Like that's not what this is about. What we're trying to do is we're just trying to help you guys think critically about parenting and what it is and what it means to be a parent and talking to you guys about what we
Our
have experienced
experiences.
and
Yeah.
what we have seen and
Yeah.
things that we have done wrong in our own lives and things that we have done right in our own lives and how we have parented our children. And so that's what this is about. This isn't about talking to you guys about how you're not doing it correctly and how
Hmm.
we are or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that that's clear here.
Yeah, there's no right and wrong, as long as, like we've said in the past, there's no abuse and there's no neglect. There's no right and wrong when it comes to this. It's just we've both been in the situation where we've parented from guilt and we've seen a negative outcome. And we just wanted to do an episode where we could speak on that. You know what I mean? And explain how, if you are parenting from that vantage point, it may not suit you well later. That's all.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, I mean, by all means, get out there.
Yeah,
You know what I
we're
mean?
not who are we to tell
I
you?
still do it from time to time. I still feel super guilty about the way shit's going with Rebecca. And so I will definitely parent her differently still to this day. So I'm not here to throw stones out of my little glass house. I'm just want to share my experiences with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, yeah. If you give your kids extra shit, extra candy, extra activities, and then you have to take them away for whatever reason, that shit sucks, man. I've had to do that so many times because of finances or situations to do with my oldest daughter. Then you go and you parent out of guilt again because you had to take something away. So it feels like a
Oh yeah,
vicious
it's like a vicious
cycle.
cycle. Yeah, for
You know what I
sure.
mean?
Mhm. We've done that with Ramona. I mean, not not in that exact situation, but like sometimes if we know like we're not home a lot or something, because Reed and I both worked like 12-hour shifts, and so we'll feel I've been working from home the last 2 years, which is like as much as you guys have known me, like through social media and how much you've known me and everything, is like I've
Yeah.
been working from home. But before I was working on campus, and Reed and I worked the same schedule. And so we would be gone a lot. And so we wouldn't see Ramona for like the first half of the week. And because we work 12-hour
Yeah,
shifts.
you'd be
And so,
gone.
yeah, so we would be gone for like 3 days, sometimes 4 days. And so we would see her like when she woke up in the morning, and then we would basically put her to bed. And that's like how we would see her for half the week. And it was really hard because, like I would miss her during the week and she would miss me. And that is Ramona and I have a very close relationship. And so during the second half of the week, there is a little bit of parenting out of guilt, like trying to make up for the fact that I haven't seen her all week. Like,
Yeah.
trying to take her out to dinner and like do
Yeah. And
fun things with her,
spend quality time with her.
spend quality time with her, and to the detriment of both of us. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really have the time to do some of those things, and I don't really have the finances to do some
Yeah.
of those things. But because I haven't seen her all week, it's like all I want to do is be able to spend time with her. And I also feel so guilty because I haven't seen her all week.
Yeah.
And how can I say no to
To the one
her?
thing she wants to do or the one thing she says, let's go do. Yeah. I feel
Exactly.
you.
And
I feel you.
it's it's one of those things where it's like I couldn't even put boundaries in place because I really did feel so horribly guilty about not having spent time with her. But in the end, it wasn't enjoyable for both of us because not only was I so tired from working, I had so many other things that I had to do. I didn't have the finances at the time to do some of the things that we were doing. And so I accumulated some debt from some of the things that we were doing and stuff like that. And it's just like doing things like that is and parenting out of the guilt of not seeing her earlier in the week, it wasn't helpful. It
No,
wasn't,
it's not.
it didn't bring us closer together because I'm grouchy. I'm not I'm not being nice. I'm not
Yeah.
having an enjoyable time. She's not having an enjoyable time. And now I've just spent money I don't have.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what parenting out of guilt is. Like it wasn't quality time with her. Like we're
Hmm.
not having a good time together, you
Yeah,
know?
and then from then on, she expects a certain quality time because you've
Yeah,
allotted it. And if the quality
exactly.
time wasn't hiking that's free and exercise and outside and stuff, and it was always to the arcade and always to go, out to eat and stuff like that, then yeah, you know what I mean? You're spoiling your child while you're parenting from guilt, and putting yourself in debt. You know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle for
Yeah.
sure.
And it was also like you were saying, like teaching manipulation too, because then she would say things like she knew that I felt bad because
Yeah.
maybe she heard me say it to somebody else and she would say things like that. Well, you haven't been home all week or I
Yeah.
haven't seen you all week.
Exactly.
And she knows her love language is quality time because we've had that conversation and she knows that. And so she would say things like that. Well, all I want to do is spend time with you. And of course, that is a form of manipulation. So
Yeah.
that's just perpetuating my guilt. And so, yeah, it was really hard for a long time for us
How,
to deal with that.
how did you have like a way to break, or was it just working from home broke that cycle? Because then all of a
Working
sudden you
from
were home. That
working
broke
from
it,
home
right?
broke that cycle.
2020
Yes.
gave you that break. It went,
Yes,
"Paka."
actually it did.
It came in and fucked that whole
Yeah.
thing up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
did.
honestly, I parented from guilt, I think mostly with my kids because Liliana was hit by a car when she was 2 years old, and her pelvis was fractured. And so she couldn't walk for like 6 weeks. And so she was very scared of everything. And I parented from guilt from that moment on, I think, until she was about 6 or 7 years old. So I would say 5 years I parented solely from guilt. She got what she wanted. Was the princess, didn't have to do what she didn't want to have to do, was put on a pedestal just for no fucking reason all the time. And she was the first grandbaby for my in-laws. So um, it was a big deal. She was a big deal. And I think I had perpetuated the story of her getting hit too so much. I told the story so many times it became her identity.
Mm.
And I remember when she was about 7 or 8 years old, and she like almost opened up like her whole, "Hi, how are you? What are you into?" I was hit by a car. It's like, okay, like I need to change the narrative. I need to stop perpetuating that, and I need to fix how I've been parenting her because I have literally been feeding into this idea that she's special because she survived. Um, and she is. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's fucking a survivor and the best type, but she doesn't. It's not serving
But
her
there's
well.
more to her than
Yeah,
just that
yeah,
incident.
and it's not serving her well, thinking that she's better than everybody because that happened to her, and it's not serving her well, getting treated like a princess just because. You know what I mean? And so I had to just flip it all around and really the way it happened for me was parenting classes. I started going to parenting when Becca was about 11 and Lily was about 7, and I started going religiously, where I mean once a week for a year and a half I went to parenting with Junior, and we sat in a room full of parents and we had an instructor and we got taught, not court ordered or anything. This was just something I did because I wanted to be a better parent. And they did teach me the tools on how to like change the conversation, how to not make it the child's fault that it's been this way the entire time, but also not let it go on any longer.
Yeah.
And so I advocate for, if you feel like you're in a situation where you can't change it, you don't know how, the tools aren't there, you don't have friends or family that you can go to and get the tools from, parenting classes are fucking phenomenal. They most communities have them.
Yeah. I did I'm really proud of you for doing that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It
Yeah.
did help me. I really, it's just right up there with therapy, if you ask me. You know,
Yeah, I
there's no
think
perfect
they're
parent.
really
There's no,
important.
yeah, there, and you can learn something new every time you go. It's almost like, you know, you pick up something new to put in your tool bag every week. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you can go back on those tools and pull them out and be like, oh, this is why she's doing this, or this is the step she's in, or this is how I should respond to that. They just help you.
So the state of Oregon, I don't know how it is in other states, but the state of Oregon requires you to go to parenting classes when you divorce and you have children.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and
Wow.
you have to submit your parenting certificate that you took the
Wow.
class when you go through your custody hearing to
Okay.
prove that you went to your
Well,
parenting
if
classes.
that's not everywhere, that needs to be everywhere.
I honestly thought it was great. The her bio dad didn't do it, so
Well, that
he didn't
just
do it until after, I mean, anyways, long story short, but I digress. Anyway, so I actually loved the parenting classes that they provided. I thought they were really great. I really thought they provided a lot of information, and of course, Ramona was only 3 at the time, and so they taught a lot about, it wasn't just like parenting, of course, it was like a lot of co-parenting information and stuff like that too, but it was a lot of just like parenting in general and
developmental.
developmental
Yeah,
and
what
like,
milestones they should hit,
yeah,
like all of it. Yeah.
it was. And I really liked it. And at first, of course, I'm like, oh, this is,
You do.
stupid,
You feel
because
indignant. I was
yeah, like
I
I'm already a parent. I've been doing this for 3 years. Like, how dare you make me go
Yeah.
to a parenting class? But once I was in it, I'm like, this is really valuable. I was really glad that they had me do it. And I thought it was really important. And I kind of thought, like, this should be something that's provided for parents, for all parents,
Yeah.
when they become
It's a
parents.
good idea to go. I mean, like Lama, if you have Lamaze, I think parenting class should be right there with Lamaze, because the way I got into parenting was not like I had some epiphany one day and I'm like, I should go to parenting. No, I was court ordered to parenting because I got a felony for child endangerment for smoking pot in the car with Rebecca when she was 2.5. I was smoking a joint like I owned California back in 19 or 2001. And I got pulled over and I got child endangerment charges. And I had to go to a year of parenting, child abusers treatment program, and drug abuse. And I went through the whole thing. I was pregnant with Lily when I went through it. So I did not realize that Rebecca hadn't hit any of the fucking milestones she was supposed to till she was 3 because I was in that course. And then they're
Mm,
like, oh, well, she should be
yeah.
talking. Oh, well, she should be saying more than 200 words. And my daughter still was nonverbal. I was a very young mom and I had really no idea that there were certain things Rebecca was supposed to be doing at a certain time. And I missed the cue. I never spoke to Rebecca directly. I just spoke around Rebecca. So she just didn't talk. And I honestly had no clue I was supposed to be like getting on her level and talking to her and stuff. If I would have gone to parenting at 17 years old, right before I had her,
You would have
court,
known
yeah,
these
yeah,
things.
I would have known what was going on. And it was the court order that actually saved Liliana, Joshua, and Scarlett all of the trauma from not having a mom that was on top of it when they were toddlers. You know what I mean? Because Rebecca did miss a lot of stuff that if I would have noticed it at 1 years old, she wouldn't have had the delays that she had. She was delay of speech and delay of everything. She had a lot of issues because I didn't pay attention or know to
Because you
pay
didn't
attention.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why parenting is such a value. It's actually just the most valuable piece of
Yeah.
information if
And
you're
it's
if you're
one of
going to have
those,
children.
yeah, it's one of those things too, like we're saying, like you almost feel indignant that somebody's saying like you should take a parenting class, but like I had already been parenting for 3 years and Ramona had leaps and bounds. Like Ramona was different. She hit all her milestones like
Yeah.
far advanced. And so that wasn't the case with her, but I feel like there were so many things that I learned and I didn't even know that I didn't know them, like you're saying, like you just don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
until you're in a class, like, and it could be like simple things. And like there's so many people going through divorces nowadays, and co-parenting is hard. And
Yeah.
sometimes co-parenting with your spouse that you're married to is fucking hard because
Yeah.
people don't have the same parenting styles. And that also comes into play when you're parenting out of guilt, because if you have somebody in your home that parents different from you and you guys are not on the same page, and maybe you're a yeller or he's a yeller, and then you're trying to make up for it or he's trying to make up for it, and one of you is parenting out of guilt because the other parent is maybe
Not
overreacts to things.
yeah.
And that is learning how to co-parent in parenting classes is really helpful in that way. And those are the types of things where when you find a way to like learn how to parent with each other in those types of situations, it helps you eliminate the need to parent out of guilt, and it
Yeah.
helps you learn how to communicate better. And there's just so many little things that, again, if you don't know what you don't know, how are you going to learn any different?
Yeah.
And it's just wild to me that we kind of come from this society in the United States where we don't want people to tell us how to parent our kids. And
No, we
that's
don't.
great. Everybody can parent their children the way that they want to,
Yes.
and like we've said before, it it makes for such a wide range of people, and it makes for such a unique society, and it
Yes.
makes for so much, diversity, and
Yes.
I love that.
Me
But
too.
at the same time, if we are not teaching our kids to be, kind, and we're parenting them to be manipulative, and we're teaching them that it's okay to come at us with uh, needs and wants that are above and beyond what we can actually provide for them just
Yeah.
because they're guilting us on a level that is unnecessary. That's when it changes, and that's when we need to start being more aware of what we can do to change the narrative. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're talking about, and that's why parenting classes are so helpful.
I mean, if you're okay, so if you've been parenting from guilt for, let's say, 20 years because your kids are fucking grown and they're married and like on their own, and you've been doing it this way for so long, it is going to be hard to change it. But one of the ways you can change it is by immediately starting to cut back at least one thing you do for your child that they can do on their own every day or every week, however you want to, section it out. But I find it easy if I just take away one of my responsibilities that the kids expect me to do, and I immediately put it on them, but not all at once. It's got to be gradual. So, like, if I've always done their laundry and now they expect me to do their laundry and they give me a guilt trip if I don't get their laundry done right or on time, and now they're almost entitled to their laundry being done, and I am doing it from a guilty spot because I haven't been there all week, like you said, or whatever the situation, I will then say, oh, wow, I'm doing that from guilt. I'm going to now give them the laundry as their responsibility. I'm going to teach them how to do the laundry. And then I'm going to hold them accountable to do the laundry. And once they master that skill, I'm going to go tackle the next thing that I'm doing from guilt for them so that they can have the skills and that I can get out of underneath this, responsibility, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it totally does make sense. And it could even be as like starting little, like what you're saying, like with the laundry or whatever, like even them just like starting to collect the laundry, like bringing their
Yeah,
laundry,
you can start so small depending on your child and your level of parenting from guilt. I know I have friends that are literally their kids have never done the dishes before. They've just never done them. And it's because they feel guilty because when their kids get home from school, they have homework and then they still have to do this and this and that and they don't have time, so they feel guilty, so they never make them do it. And so the kids just don't have that skill. And then you don't realize till your child is 18 that your kid has never, like, quite literally never done the dishes. um so I think that it's the little things that you're doing from guilt. You're
Yeah.
making their life a lot easier, and I get it. I get that it makes your life easier, but in the long run, when your children are grown, it isn't easier. You have a lot of things you have to teach them, you know what I mean, that you
Yeah.
put off.
Yeah.
So
And two, I think sometimes like parenting from guilt can sometimes be like out of trauma from our own like
Oh, yeah.
issues that we're dealing with
That's a good point.
that we've never dealt with before.
Yeah.
There's some things that like for Ramona that I do for her out of like trauma from my own childhood that I just like I parent her out of guilt in a way that like I don't want to traumatize her the way that maybe I was traumatized in my childhood. So it's like a different kind of guilt. Do you
That
know what
makes
I'm saying?
sense. That does.
Yeah.
I like
And
the way
so
you
it's like,
explained that.
yeah, it's like stuff that I never dealt with or, you know, I'm still dealing with from my own childhood. And so I parent her in a way that is like sort of softening her childhood. So it kind of like puts her a little bit in a bubble and I do maybe more things for her because I do want her to feel like so much love from me and so much like caring from me, but in a way I'm kind of like handicapping her in some
Yeah.
sense of the word because I'm not teaching her to be completely like
Independent.
self-sufficient
Yeah.
and
Independent.
independent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things too where it's like I know that I'm doing that sometimes and I need to like open my eyes to it a little bit and just be like, "Hey, you know, it's okay for her to do these things and you're not traumatizing her by asking her to do this stuff."
Because you were traumatized. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. That makes
exactly.
sense.
And it's not the same type of situation and
You're
you're not
not.
doing the same types of things to
Yeah,
her.
I get
Yeah.
that. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if I'd have to really sit and look at myself and see if I'm doing that because I'm sure I am. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a lot of situations, especially around Rebecca and the trauma that I have with parenting her and all the guilt that I had associated with parenting Rebecca. I think from moment one, I spoke about it a little bit in the parent shaming episode, but from moment one of having Rebecca, there was just so much guilt wrapped up in not doing it properly,
Yeah.
not getting the diagnosis right, not getting the school right, not getting when she was held back in kindergarten, not I didn't handle that properly. Like I can literally cry thinking about all the things I did not do right because I had legitimately no idea what I was doing. Um, and I have a lot of regrets behind it and mommy guilt behind it. And I don't think I parent her from guilt because of it, because of the way she is. But I do, I did lay at night a lot and feel my guilt and let it just fester to the point where I can't even handle a little bit of guilt now with my other kids. Like if I even feel like my son doesn't have what he needs for one moment, it's very overwhelming for me. So I have
Yeah.
to keep myself in check and understand that my kids are very well taken care of. They have everything they need. Like sometimes I don't have a lot of groceries, and that's one of the times I guess that I would guilt myself because as a kid we never had groceries, and so I always want my fridge to be full, and sometimes that's just not,
See, that would be like what
you
I'm saying
know
is like
yeah,
parenting out of like trauma,
that
you
would
know,
be
like
one
you're
that I just came up with. Yeah, for me, for
yeah.
sure, because I if I don't have groceries I feel like a loser parent, and then I go overcompensate at the store and buy everything that they like because they went without snacks for 3 days because of in my childhood we never had food, so I promised myself they're going to always have food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you're right about all that. And I never really gave that much thought.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think there's so many different things that people don't realize that, you know, like you're parenting out of guilt, but you're just like not realizing that you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like divorce, your kids aren't doing well in school. And so you're like trying to
They're being
help
bullied.
make
So
up
then
for
you're,
that. Or
yeah,
yeah, or they're being bullied, or we are depressed. And so we're trying to make up for that. Or they're depressed. And so you're trying to
yes,
make up for that because you feel guilty that they're depressed because what are you doing that your child is depressed? Because
exactly.
that's really hard to deal with if your kid is
Yeah.
depressed or they have anxiety or some like mental health issues, or, you know, like maybe your kid has diagnosed ADHD or something like that. Like that is something that, you know, a lot of people like have a really hard time with dealing
Yeah.
with and things like that. So we want to make up for maybe, you know, like they didn't have a great childhood. You know, you and I talked about that recently. Um when you have an age gap between children and, you know, I only have one child, so for me I can't completely speak to this, but you have an age gap between, Rebecca and Scarlett, and,
Yeah.
you've got two kids in between. But when you have an age gap between children, and, maybe you didn't do so well with your first child, and you made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
and you really didn't do your best, and you maybe know you didn't do your best,
Yeah.
and now you have another one, and you
You're
are
doing your best.
trying to do everything right, and that first child is looking at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Rebecca
how?
is
Yeah,
very indignant about it. And I know several people that are in the same situation as me
yeah.
because they want to compare what the parent you are now to the parent they had, and there's just never a comparison
And you
because it's
can't.
been it's been 20. When I had Scarlett, Rebecca was 19, uh Lily was 15, and Josh was 10. And so it was a surprise pregnancy, and honestly Joshua was really upset about it. It was very difficult, so I did parent from guilt a lot from that. But I think that my daughter, my oldest daughter, definitely took it as a hit. Like, wow, you're going to go now give that baby everything. It's going to have all the best toys. It's going to have all these experiences I didn't have. It's going to have the love of a dad and a mom together. And, it's going to have the big siblings and da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, I'm providing this baby with everything I couldn't provide you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't go back and change
No.
20 fucking years ago, man. Like, I'm a human being. I made mistakes, but now, no, I'm not going to feed into this bullshit of I have to now forever give you whatever you demand because I fucked up 20 years ago. No,
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry. You either forgive me and move the fuck on or you don't. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
It's really hard because you and I have talked about this before, and my mom had I have a younger sister who's 8 years younger than me, and it's a sister that lives up here, and she was parented a lot different. And of course, I've said before, like, I didn't grow up with my mom. I only saw my mom in the summers, and so I only saw the sister in the summers, and there was just a very clear difference of
Yeah.
the way this sister was
Because she
parented.
was with
And
her mom all the
she
time,
was with her
right?
all the time,
Okay.
and it
That
was an
makes
8-year
sense.
difference, and my
Yeah.
mom doted on her, and
Uh
so
huh.
even when we would come up in the summers, it was just like my mom's attention was always on her.
Yeah.
And instead of being, like, angry at my sister that traveled with me from California, we were always, like, really angry at our youngest sister, and it it bred a lot of resentment, and for years, we just didn't like her, and
Because of the way your mom treated
because of
her.
the way my mom treated her, and she got
Yeah.
everything, she got all, like, just she was spoiled. And it took a lot of years, and it took me until I was older, like in my, like, like late teens, early 20s, for me to realize. And I think it was even after I had Ramona, for me to realize, like, hey dude, like, this was not this child's fault,
Yeah,
like.
this is the parents' fault for
And
making
this
me feel
it
this
it
way.
was it was my mother's fault. But and not only that, my mother was so young when she had me. She was
Yeah.
16 when she had me,
Wow.
and she did not have the skills and the tools, and she did not know what she was doing. And then she grew, and she grew up, and she
Yeah.
did the best she could, and she did the best she could for my sister, not for me and my older
Yes.
sister.
I get
She
that.
did the best she could for my younger sister.
I get that.
And for me to be angry at my youngest sister is not fair. And I
No.
have a great relationship with her now. We're very close. And it took me a long time to get over that,
Yeah.
and to not be angry about it. And I think that's one of those things, is where at some point, children have to recognize that, you know, parents do the best they can. And we are learning every day. I tell this to Ramona all the time. Every day, I'm learning with her. She's learning every day. I'm learning every day. I don't know how to be a parent. When I wake
Yeah.
up in the morning, it's a new experience with her every day. When she is learning how to do something, I'm learning how to do it right there with her, because I don't wake up and know what I'm doing. I didn't wake up knowing how to be a parent.
Yeah.
The day I brought her home from the hospital, it's not like I was just like, I just popped you out of my vagina. I'm pre-installed with a parenting manual, you know? Like
Yeah, I
that's
hear
not how
you.
parenting works. And every experience with your child is a brand new fucking experience. Even if you have multiple children, they're not the same.
No, and it's different. I parent each of my children differently. Each one of them gets it. Okay. I tried to explain to my kids, like, because they didn't understand until I got pregnant with Scarlett what a pregnancy was or having a baby was like, because they were older and they'd never even been around a baby before. And I had to explain to them pretty much all of it. And I think that having a baby was a good thing because now they can see like all that went into having them and how much love it took for me to nurture them and teach them how to walk and teach them how to talk and teach them how to go potty and all the things. Now they're seeing how much love I poured into them. But it took me saying, dude, do you think I'm doing it differently for her? I fucking hugged you when you fell too. I
Yeah.
got you a birthday present when you were 5 too. Like, stop it. You know what I mean? And I had
Yeah.
to put him in check and be like, no, you guys had a fucking fabulous childhood too. The only one in this house allowed to complain would be Rebecca, and she wasn't
Yeah.
even around at the time. So it's like, no, knock it off. You know what I mean? So I think you have to hold your kids accountable and not let them get this idea that you owe them something because you don't owe them shit. You owe them a nice place to live, clothes to wear, food to eat, and love. And that is pretty much the gist of being a parent. You know what I mean?
I
Anything beyond that, man,
I
I'm
always
sorry, but
I
it
always tell Ramona, like, "Are you
entitled,
alive? Do you
yeah,
have a house?
entitled
Am I feeding
bastards.
you?" Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that especially grown children need to knock it off. We tried our best. I don't go around telling my mom, oh, mom, you know, you really fucked up, blah, blah, blah. She said she was sorry and I forgave her and I moved on. You know what I mean? If you're not willing to say you're sorry, that's a totally different conversation. But, say you're sorry to your kids if you feel like you fucked up ever and just sit them down and be like, you know what? I'm sorry that you feel like I fucked up. I did and I'm not going to do it again. And I'm not doing it with your younger siblings. And I just want you to know I'm sorry. And then that's it. And then leave the guilt. Don't feel it anymore because you shouldn't have to. You didn't do anything wrong. You were young. They survived, man.
Yeah,
So
and you're learning, and
you're
that's what
learning as you
parenting
go.
is. It's
Yeah.
learning.
As long as you're not
Parenting
hurting
is
anybody.
about learning. It's about, making mistakes and learning from them and changing and adapting. It's about boundaries, it's about love and comfort, it's about setting limits, it's about showing respect, and it's about making sure that your child is cared for and
Yeah.
loved and
But
alive at the end of the day.
they don't need to have all their wants. You know what I
No.
mean? Their needs need to be met, but not their wants. And so, yeah, I think that this is a good episode. It's a
This
good,
is Parenting 101 with Monica and Asia. Thank you.
yes,
Welcome
yes.
to our TED Talk.
Welcome to parenting with us. No,
Yeah.
honestly, parenting classes. That's the one takeaway I think that there should be from this episode is if you do feel like you're not hitting the
Yeah,
mark
if you
as a
need help,
parent,
you guys.
yeah, and you're really beating yourself up at night about it. I mean, go to a parenting class now that most of them are online. You don't even have to go and be in the group with people. It's like it's a Zoom and you're sitting and you're just
Yeah,
staring at
keep your camera
faces.
off.
Yeah, and you're honestly just getting advice, you're
Information.
getting
Yeah.
information, you're getting the camaraderie of other people having their kids do the
Going
same
through
fucking shit.
experiences that you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. The camaraderie, man. When you get there and you're like, well, my toddler does this or my teenager does this. And they're like, whoa, so does mine or so did mine.
Yeah.
And you have that then that like, camaraderie between the people. So it's
Yeah.
nice. I think
And
it's a good thing to do.
also, sometimes therapy, and I know we've said this before and we'll say it until we're dead.
Blue in the
Um,
face, man.
we're dead. Um, sometimes therapy can also help because sometimes you just need a little perspective, and
Yeah.
some good therapists can help you with that,
Yeah,
put
and
that in
changing your
perspective for
parenting
you.
style isn't easy, you guys.
No, it's definitely
I
not.
don't want anybody to think we're up here saying, it's going to be easy. Changing your parenting style is probably one
It's
of the
very
hardest things
hard.
I've ever had to do. Having a special needs child, I had to go to lots of different courses, therapies, and lots of classes to make sure I was the best parent for her, the best possible parent for her. So I'm just coming from a place of love, saying that if you are struggling and you feel like you need to change your parenting style, I'm right there with you. It's not going to be easy, but You're strong enough. You're brave enough. You got this. You know what I mean? It will get better.
Yeah. And, we're here if you guys have questions or, you just want to chat about it. Asia and I are always open to talk about things. We both have been through some stuff, both been single moms before. We both have ADHD daughters, and, we love talking to you guys. So you
Yeah,
guys
keep
can
the
always hit us up.
conversation. Keep it going
Yeah.
in the DMs, guys, like always.
Yeah. And like I said, we love to hear from you guys. Find us on social media. You guys, wherever you're listening, if you can rate and review us, that really helps us out. And we can't wait to talk to you guys again. Yeah.
Until
Talk
next
to
time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.